Here's how you can use Cloud Cruise to go through a list of websites, look for the team or the leadership page, find it, then extract the contact information of each one of the team members, and then output that all to a CSV of results at the end. So for example, here we have a sample of civil engineering firms and all of their websites. And if, for example, if we were to navigate to the first one and we were to look for their team page, we might go to About Us, and then we'd want to extract the contact information of these team members. So here's how we could build that in Cloud Cruise. So open up the Cloud Cruise Chrome extension here, and then I'll go to workflows and I want to create a new workflow. Now, first of all, give this workflow a name like extract team members from site. And then I'll want to add an input for the workflow because we have all of these sites that we want to go through. So the input, I want to first of all define a variable. So in Cloud Cruise, variables are what we use essentially to define like the internal memory of the workflow. So if there's anything that we want to use for processing or eventually like saving to an output, we need to define it as a variable. So I define a variable just by saying create variable, and I want to define the type of this variable. So it's going to be an array or a list. So we have a list of items here that we're going to want to iterate through. So in this array, let's call it a list of websites. And this array is a list of items. Each item essentially is an object, and the objects have properties. So let's give the property, we only have one property here, which is website for each one. So let's just call it URL or website. Cool. Okay, so now if we go back to our input variables, we can assign that to list of websites. And when it comes to running the workflow, we'll have an option to upload our list of websites at the beginning of the run. Great. Okay, so now I can actually come to defining the steps of the workflow. So in Cloud Cruise, workflows are made up of a series of nodes or steps, and you can see the different action types here. Pretty much everything you need to navigate around a browser, like clicking, typing, extracting data. So we start off with the start node here, and for this particular workflow, the entry point URL doesn't matter too much because we're going to go through each one of these URLs anyway. So we're going to re-navigate very soon. So what we need to do first is we need to add a loop because we want to iterate over each one of this list. And the loop, we want to iterate over the list of websites, which we just defined. And in the loop, we want to break up this. We want to iterate over the list, and each item we're going to call, say, current website. So current website is going to be each example here, and then within the loop, we'll have access to that particular item. So now we're going to start the loop, and the first step is to navigate to the right URL. So let's add a variable with this icon here on the right. Now remember that we defined the current website being the current object. So let's take the right property here. So we navigate to the website. Now, once we've landed on the page of the website, so on the main landing page, we want to explore for the About Us or the leadership page. So let's define an explore step. Explore steps are really useful for when you can't really predict the structure of a website and you want the agent to just do some autonomous navigation around. So all we do is we just describe like the end goal, and then we let the agent decide what action to take next, and we also define the max number of steps. So here I'm going to say find the team page of this website. Stop when you find at least one name and role of an employee or owner. That should do it. And then let's do a max number of steps of 2 because they should be pretty easy websites. Okay, once we've explored, we can assume that we're now at a point where we can extract the contact information from the site. So now let's extract a list of employees from this website. For each employee, extract the name, role, email, and phone if available. Great. Okay, and we need to define another variable in which to store the outcome of that extract. So let's go to variables, and we'll add a new variable here. We'll call it, say, a list of employees. So this again is an array because there could be one or more of employees on the page. Like in the example we just looked at, there were 2. So let's create in this new object of this new array, which is going to be made up of a list of employee objects. And each employee object should have a name, it should have a role, it should have a, let's see, what did we say here? We said email, and we said phone. Great, cool. And now we can assign the outcome of this to the list of employees. Great. Okay, so now we just need to save the output of that. So we need to save the output of that extraction into the CSV and into our final results for the end. So we can't save a list of items directly to the output because saving by output happens row by row. So we actually need to break this up into individual rows. So we're going to define another loop to loop over the list that we just extracted and save it one at a time into the final results. So let's loop over the list of employees, and we should just define this as current employee. And we'll just have one action here, which is saving to the output. And here we'll just want to, maybe we'll save the URL that we're on. So we'll save the URL. And then we will save the employee name. We'll save the role. We'll save the email. And we'll save the phone. Let's see. Save the phone. Great. Cool. Okay, so then we start this here and we take this back to the start of the loop. Okay, and once we are finished with that saving loop, then we want to go back to the start of the previous loop here. And once we're finished with our overall list of processed items, then we just want to go to the end of the workflow, then we're finished. Great. Okay, so now we're finished with the workflow, and if everything's good, when I save it, it should save successfully. Fantastic. And when I go to my workflows, I can then now see it coming up here. And you can also see I now have my nice input field where I can input my sample. So if I go to CSV, and let's go to downloads, and let's upload the sample, and we'll want to remove the first row, that's fine. Cool, I can input this, and we can start the run. Great, so now it starts on the entry point that we defined in start, doesn't really matter too much. It's now going to loop in those input items we gave it into the memory, and it's going to loop through each one of them. So now it's loaded those in. So it's going to navigate to Nova Structures Group. Now it's going to explore the website so it can look for the team page. Great. Okay, so now it had a max number of steps of 2, but probably, hopefully, it will realize that this is the page it wants to reach, so it should stop exploring on this page. Great, so it's decided it's finished exploring, it's found the goal. Now we're going to extract the team members. And we won't go through each one of these examples, it'll take too long, but this is an example that you can play around with if you download the Chrome extension yourself and even edit the workflow and play around and see what else you could build with it. Great, okay, so now we are extracting, and now we're gonna, okay, great, so we've extracted all these contacts, and we're gonna loop through them, saving them to the output, and you can see that the output will be saved here. Perfect, cool, well, that's how you build this workflow in Car Cruise, and I hope you enjoy playing around with yourself.